Hello and welcome to the JB&M Sports Fanatic channel. Thank you for joining me for this video. And we're going to be talking about the first week of the NFL schedule, which is circling around the internet right now. So we'll go ahead and start with the season opener. And we have a good one. We have the Cowboys versus the Buccaneers. These two NFC teams. Obviously, when you think Cowboys, you have to think about their offense, all the weapons that they have. CeeDee Lamb. Obviously Amari Cooper. So they have a lot to work with. Dak Prescott's coming back from his gruesome injury, which he experienced last year. So this is an opportunity for the Cowboys if they really want to make a statement. They don't have to wait very long at all. This is the first game, and if they were to come out with a win, it would make people think, okay, maybe this is not the same Cowboys. Now, their defense last year was ranked 28th in the league, so they definitely was towards the bottom in the league in terms of defensive plays, and there was a lot of point fingers being pointed. So they went ahead, fired their defensive coordinator. They just went a completely different direction, let go a lot of players on that side of the ball. And they spent just about the entire draft bringing in players to be able to come in and, fill those needs on defense. So they really focused on giving Dan Quinn some pieces to work with. So we'll see how that works out. But that being said, they're still going against the defending champs and Tampa Bay, obviously led by Tom Brady. They're bringing back all starters on their offense and defense, not to mention also retaining guys like Leonard Fournette, Antonio Brown. So they definitely, kept the entire team. And if they pick up where they left off last year, then yeah, this is definitely going to be an extremely scary team again. That's the expectation. But yeah, the Cowboys are definitely going to be looking to try to make a statement here, and we'll get to see how Dak looks now that he got his money. We'll see how his rehab went. Will this be a bounce back year for Ezekiel Elliott? There's a lot of questions there. But one thing that we know for sure is that the Buccaneers, they'll be ready, and I expect the Cowboys to be ready as well. This one will definitely be an exciting one to watch, and it'll definitely sell tickets, that's for sure. It's Cowboys, America's team, and then Tampa, coming off the Super Bowl. So this is a tremendous matchup here. So excited to see how that's actually going to play out there. And so we'll go ahead and start talking about some of the games that'll be on CBS. We'll start with the Steelers and the Buffalo Bills, two teams that last year got off to a tremendous start last season. Buffalo, Pittsburgh defense was definitely a top five defense last year. Buffalo, they was pretty good as well, about middle of the road defensively, but their offense was fantastic last year. Pittsburgh offense sort of fell off, after they got their first loss. They just was on a downward spiral. But that being said, there's going to be a lot of questions about, the offensive line. Can they protect for Big Ben? This is going to be crucial for them. Last year, they had so many drops at the receiving position, so they're going to have to do a better job at holding on to the ball to help Ben Roethlisberger out. Obviously, bringing in Najee Harris, that's a big boost to the running game, but we'll see how that looks. If he'll have some holes to run through, but you got to like this matchup here, starting off with Buffalo. Josh Allen, can he repeat upon the success that he had last year? Obviously, Josh Allen's thinking about, getting paid. Buffalo's thinking about paying him. Him, Stephon Diggs, they were an exciting duo. I mean, when they came into the zone last year, they really took off. So this will be another fun one to watch here between two teams that made the playoffs last year. So definitely a lot of high expectations in that regard for that game. Matter of fact, Buffalo was a I believe top five, I believe top three offense last year. Well, Pittsburgh, although they fell apart, they did finish in that upper half of the league offensively. So definitely a great game there. And so we'll talk about the Jets and the Panthers now. Sam Darnold versus his previous team. He doesn't have to wait long at all to try to get revenge against the Jets, who obviously moved on a different direction. It just wasn't working out. They gave the man Adam Gase to work with throughout his career there with the Jets. So that just set him up for failure. But he's in a different situation, better weapons now. So we'll see how that looks. But the Jets, they didn't just, stay still. They brought out, receivers like Corey Davis over from the Titans, so they made some changes to try to improve this team. So I'm really interested in seeing just how the Jets are going to look. But obviously, with a new head coach here coming over from the 49ers, it's going to be really crucial for them to get off to a fast start if they plan on having a year that's different than last year, where they pretty much fumbled away the first pick of the draft. So that's going to be exciting to watch. In terms of where they were offensively, the Jets were near the bottom of the league offensively last year. Meanwhile, the Carolina Panthers, they were kind of like in the bottom, like about 20-ish, 21. So like not middle of the road, but just a little below average offensively. So Sam Darnold's hoping that he can come in and be an upgrade, over what they had in Teddy Bridgewater, which Teddy did okay until he, ended up getting hurt. And then there was just a lot that went on. Christian McCaffrey got hurt. Christian McCaffrey's health is going to be extremely important for this team this upcoming season. But you got to like the moves that Carolina made across the board. They brought in some real pieces here, and they're looking to show that they're, ready to compete. So we'll see how it all comes together for them. Definitely something to keep an eye on. Houston versus Jacksonville. Oh man, that's going to be an interesting game there. We get to see Urban Meyer, Trevor Lawrence, and yes, Tim Tebow. But what we don't know is if we're going to get to see Deshaun Watson in that game or not. That's obviously going to be extremely critical if we're going to get to see two Clemson quarterbacks going at it, or if it's going to be Urban Meyer versus whoever, Tyrod Taylor and the Houston Texans. So we'll see how that looks. But one thing I can say is that both teams, they were extremely busy this offseason. I believe both teams brought in nearly about 30 players through free agency for both. They went ahead and just revamped that entire units, offense and defensively, because they realized that if they want to compete and reach their goals, they're going to have to make some changes. Obviously, with Houston firing Bill O'Brien last year, that was huge. So both of these teams, new coaches. So we'll see how it works out for them for sure. Last year, when we're talking about offensively, Deshaun Watson had one heck of a year last year. That is for sure. Houston was about middle of the road because Deshaun pretty much carried them last year. And then obviously, when David Johnson went off, that was great. Meanwhile, Jacksonville, they struggled pretty much. They was about bottom of the league, about that 29th spot. So they definitely had a lot to improve upon offensively, but they did everything that they could, bringing in a pair of Clemson players, So yeah, definitely excited to see how their offense is going to look. I got a feeling that Urban Meyer's got something special planned for how he's going to use Trevor Lawrence. So that's going to be what I look for in that. The Arizona Cardinals and the Tennessee Titans. Some two teams here. Obviously, the Tennessee Titans, they rely heavily on Derrick Henry. I mean, he's that guy that, can go out there and rush for 2,000 yards. He runs people over. It's always highlight reels when he's out there. So he can take over a game. Then Ryan Tannehill, he doesn't get the respect that he deserved pretty much because of his start in the league and with Miami up under Adam Gase. But you take that aside, this man, he's out there balling extremely well with the play action fake. You've got A.J. Brown and company. But the Arizona Cardinals, they made some moves as well. Bringing in guys like J.J. Watt, bringing in guys like A.J. Green. They brought in guys that have something to prove, that have proven already in the league what they can do, but people may have forgotten. So they'll have a chip on their shoulder. Like J.J. Watt said, he came because he believes in Kyler Murray. I believe in Kyler Murray as well. I think he's going to be that quarterback that has that breakout season this year. So that's what I'm banking on. So if that's the case, this is going to be a fun one to watch here. Very fun to watch. Both teams, if you're talking about offensively, the Titans were above average when it comes to offense last year. Pretty good, though. I should say pretty good offensively, around that 10, 11 spot range. Whereas, when you're talking about the Cardinals last year, they was definitely in like that top 7 range. So, yeah, two teams that can definitely score the ball for sure. They have different ways in which they'll go about scoring the ball, but definitely going to be a fun one to watch. So, looking forward to that one. The Chargers versus the Washington football team. Yeah, so Justin Herbert was a great surprise last year. He definitely saved me in fantasy football, no doubt. And so I am really looking forward to his development. They brought in a couple, linemen. I believe they brought in the center from the Green Bay Packers. And yeah, they brought in some pieces to protect him to make sure that he's standing upright and that he has time in that pocket. So expect for him to have a nice continue his progress in year 2 up under center. Obviously for the running back position, can they stay healthy? That's going to be key for them next year. Now, they had a pretty good offense last year because Justin Herbert was a big part of that, and they were still able to incorporate running backs here and there. They had like a top above average offense, about like 12th in the league, I believe, somewhere around that range. And then when you're talking about the Washington football team, they really lacked when it came to just consistently moving the ball offensively. The Washington football team, they needed a quarterback. That was very evident. Obviously, they've got Gibson in the backfield. They've got some stuff to work with, but now they brought in Ryan Fitzpatrick. So the real question for the Washington football team when we're talking about offense is which Ryan Fitzpatrick are we going to get? Are we going to get the inconsistent one? Or are we going to get the one that we saw last year with the Miami Dolphins? That remains to be seen. But one thing that we do know for sure is that this defense is young and this defense is hungry. Chase Young out there. I mean, this defense is really good. So you have to love this matchup here, Herbert versus the Washington football team's defense. So definitely excited to see how that plays out. Washington, I believe, was a top 5 defense last year. So definitely excited to see that matchup as well. And so now once we start going to some of these 4 o'clock games, a rematch here between the Browns and the Kansas City Chiefs. This was such a great playoff game last year, and the Browns don't have to wait too long to try to get revenge. The Browns did an excellent job this offseason and the moves that they made, bringing in that safety from the Rams. Obviously Odell Beckham Jr. is coming back, so we'll have to see how he fits in with the offense, but we all know the kind of skills that he got. It's going to be up to Baker Mayfield to keep progressing positively, but if he does that, the Browns are in a very good situation. I mean, this could very well be another playoff game later on this year. And we all know what the Chiefs got. They opened up the wallet this offseason, bringing in a ton of help for to protect Patrick Mahomes on that offensive line. I mean, they was just spending, trading, everything possible. I mean, they understood where their weakness was in the Super Bowl, and they're saying they're going to make sure that doesn't happen again. They're going to protect their $500 billion quarterback. You best believe that. So excited to see, how the Kansas City Chiefs are going to go out there and look in this game. It's going to be a fun one to watch. The Chiefs, obviously, top 10 offense from last year. Expect much of the same this year. Now, if they can get a consistent running game, that would only bode well for them. But, I mean, the weapons that they got, obviously, that's going to be huge. They don't have Sammy Watkins anymore, but I don't think it's really going to hurt them that much. So excited to see how that looks moving forward for them. So, yeah. And then in terms of the Browns, they did pretty good, but they really came into more of a zone offensively later in the year. I mean, when you have that Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt combination, I mean, it just bodes well for you, and you're able to tire out a defense. You're able to really control the time of possession. There's a lot that you can really do with that, so that does help. But the Chiefs, they definitely also invested in adding some more depth to the defensive line, so that'll be really fun to watch that game. They picked a great game to put on in that 4 o'clock window. And so another game which should not come as much of a surprise because they tend to lately always have the Dolphins go down to the Patriots in the opening week, so that way the Dolphins will not have to go down to New England later in the year, it seems. But yeah, the Dolphins and the Patriots. So last year during this time, Ryan Fitzpatrick got to start this game. So we'll get to see Tua Tagovailoa from the start, and he'll go up against a Patriots defense that definitely added a lot of pieces out there. We all know that all the players that opted out last year, your high towers of the world, they're coming back. And the Patriots, they opened up that wallet. They brought in some tight ends, some receivers. So definitely going to be looking like a different team. Even went ahead and drafted a quarterback. Now I expect that Cam Newton's going to be the starting quarterback come that time, but we'll have to see how that works out and how long Cam Newton is the guy. But at least for this game, I'm expecting for Cam to be the guy. And I'm expecting that he gets off to a fast start, kind of like he did last year. We'll see how long it lasts, but definitely have high expectations for them. The Patriots defense was definitely a top 10 defense last year. I'm expecting for that to be the same case this year. The Dolphins, they were a top 5 defense last year. So definitely going to see if they can maintain that this upcoming season as well. So we'll have to see how that works out. But this right here will be a good matchup. Should be fun to watch and should go down to the wire, I believe. And will be exciting to see how the new look Patriots actually look, as well as, who is the opening day quarterback for the Patriots. There's nothing that's guaranteed at this point until it actually happens. So definitely will be a fun one to watch in that scenario. So now we're going to talk about the games that will be coming on Fox. You have the Vikings and the Bengals. Obviously, Joe Burrow coming back from that injury he suffered last year. So it's going to be up to the Bengals to protect him. Obviously, in the draft, they chose receiver rather than offensive tackle. But, we're going to see just how the Bengals offense come together in year 2 for Joe Burrow. He's another candidate for someone that could have a breakout year. And if the Bengals are going to have the season that they want to have, it's going to be fully reliant upon that. Obviously, him, Joe Mixon, all of them are going to have to come together and, really just form a new duo. But you got to like what they did. especially offensively and the moves that they made and defensively in free agency. And then the Vikings, Kirk Cousins coming back again. Obviously, they have tremendous receivers, Adam Thielen and company. So, yeah, definitely they can throw the ball, but we all know Dalvin Cook is that guy. The offense runs through him. He can run it, he can catch out the backfield. He's just explosive. And so that'll definitely be fun to watch him again, and definitely someone that, if for fantasy football purposes, you're going to want to have on your team for sure. The next up is the 49ers and the Lions. We all know about Jimmy G, having his replacement on the team, and everybody's ready to throw Trey Lance in there, and let's see what he can do. But I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be out on a mission to prove that he still can be a starter in this league. For him, the biggest test is just going to be being healthy for as long as he can, I feel. We'll see how that goes. 49ers, they added a lot of running backs this season, so that and they did spend some money on their offensive line as well. You love what they have defensively, as last year the injuries was the story for them. That's what really hurt them. But they obviously have a tremendous amount of talent on that team. They are a team that can make a run to the Super Bowl. They're going to be in a tough division, so that's a downfall there. But hey, that's what football is all about, competition. As for Detroit, they're clearly in rebuild mode. We'll see how they look with Jared Goff. Obviously, they started working on the offensive line in the draft. And they have a lot of, young pieces that they're going to look and see what they have. They don't have their starting receivers from last year. So I expect the offense to take a little bit of a drop from what it was last year. Although last year defensively, Detroit was like near the bottom of the league, if not the worst. So they're definitely going to have a lot of improvement on that side of the ball if they plan on being in a lot of games. But yeah, definitely it's going to come down to, what Jared Goff can do, as he's going to have to show them that he deserves to be the man for them moving forward. So we'll see how that plays out there for the Lions. And obviously a new head coach as well, so a new regime. Dan Campbell, he's going to put his mark on the team. He's out there talking about biting people knee caps off and stuff like that. So he's going to have this team playing hard. I'll say that much. Eagles and the Falcons. Okay, so you got Jalen Hurts versus Matt Ryan and company. So we all know the Eagles, they took the Heisman Trophy winner, Devontae Smith, so we'll see how that works out for the Eagles moving forward. Him and Jalen obviously have that connection, so it's going to be key for them to be able to have that. Miles Sanders, can he be healthy? The Eagles went through a lot of receivers last year due to injuries, so just being healthy is also going to be a part of it as well. As for the Falcons, we know Matt Ryan, he's obviously got a lot to prove. A lot of people counting him out. He's still got Julio and company. Obviously they drafted Kyle Pitts. So there's a lot that the Falcons offense got. And defensively, we'll have to see how that unit looks. Although last year they was around 20th, 19th, when it comes to defensive rankings. And so we'll just see how that looks for the Falcons this upcoming year. Whether or not they trade Julio, that's going to be interesting, because that, is something that was thrown out there. So we'll see if that trade does happen. But assuming that they are able to keep Julio, this should be an interesting game here, as the Falcons are definitely a team that has a lot of talent. We'll just have to see what that talent equates to. So new coach, new regime. Obviously, they're going to look to run the ball a little bit more. So open competition at the running back position. Will it be Mike Davis, who had a tremendous year, filling in for Christian McCaffrey with the Panthers last year? Or, who's going to be in the backfield? We'll have to wait and see. Is it going to be Cordell Patterson? Or they're going to take that route, have a gadget running back? We'll see. Seahawks at the Colts. Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson expressed, he wasn't happy. He wanted more offensive linemen. So, other than a trade here or there, Seahawks, they did something, but they didn't do a lot, I guess. Maybe not as much as Russ would have wanted. But that being said, though, he does have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, so they've got some weapons, but the Colts, defensively, they were definitely a good team defensively, top, one of the top defenses in the league last year. They fell just short to beating a very good Buffalo team in Buffalo. Phillip Rivers was just a little bit off here and there, but obviously he's retired, so they brought in Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is going to be the key to the Colts. If they can get the Carson Wentz that they think they're getting, this team will be playoff bound. But, you never know. Obviously, if there's anyone that can do it, Frank Reich, former offensive coordinator back in the day when he had his best season with the Eagles, yeah, it's definitely possible. But we'll have to see how it works out for him, though, for sure. And so, the Seahawks, they've definitely had some changes there, especially defensively. So we'll see how they end up looking, whether or not a reunion with Richard Sherman is in the making. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. So now the fun part, the 4 p.m. games, 4:25 games. You've got the Broncos and the Giants. Drew Lock. Will they trade for Aaron Rodgers? Will he be playing this game for the Broncos, or will he be playing for the Packers against the Saints? Either way, it's looking like he'll be playing at that 425 slot. Obviously, the game for the Broncos and the Giants do have that significance in which that game was played right around the time of 9/11, going back to 2001 between the Broncos and the Giants. So there's that significance there. So the NFL wanted to make sure that they highlighted that and just, pay respect. So definitely understand that. But yeah, so for the Giants, Saquon Barkley, he got hurt. I know they felt that pain because when Saquon went down, so went my first pick in my fantasy league. And so I definitely learned my lesson about that. But we'll see how Saquon looks when he returns. He's been that type of runner that he'll get contained and then he'll go off for like a big carry for like 80 yards, 60 yards, 70 yards. And so we'll see just how he looks. They did add some additional running backs there. Obviously, that they brought in Kenny Galladay. So yeah, they brought in some more receivers here for the Giants, and they drafted Tooney. So yeah, the Giants are doing everything they can to set up Daniel Jones for success. It's going to be up to Daniel Jones to take it and run with it, and we'll see just how far they end up going for their team. Now, in terms of where they were last season defensively for the Giants, they were a team that was one of the better defenses last year for sure. And the Packers and the Saints game, that's going to be definitely dependent upon Aaron Rodgers, how that works out for them. Obviously, they want Aaron Rodgers to stay there. They're doing everything they can to try to apologize, but sometimes the damage is done. So we'll just have to see whether or not he gets traded, whether or not he just has to retire and show he's not bluffing, or if he goes back. We'll have to see. But either way, whether it's Jordan Love versus Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill or Aaron Rodgers versus them, these are going to be teams that are definitely looking to show what they got. I mean, the Saints, obviously, they lost Drew Brees to retirement. So he was definitely a legend there. All he's done for the community, aside from winning the Super Bowl. So definitely replacing him is not going to be easy, but they do have some options. So we'll have to see. It's going to come down to Sean Payton and his style. Does he want to run an offense that he ran last year with Taysom Hill, or does he want to run an offense with Jameis Winston that can really spread that ball out? And obviously Michael Thomas, having him healthy is going to be key as well, as that would help, especially if Jameis Winston is out there throwing the rock. So a lot to be seen for these teams in terms of who's going to be the starting quarterback for this game right here. But definitely two teams that, is great. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, assuming that he's still there, this man was the MVP last year. This man obviously has a dangerous connection with Devontae Adams. And so that 1-2 punch is definitely one that can take out just about any team. So we'll see how that works out for them. Obviously, the Saints, they got Alvin Kamara, so we'll see how they did. I feel like the Saints, they left a little bit to be desired in terms of what they did during the draft. They really needed to address, some cornerback positions. I feel like they left some stuff unaddressed, and then the picks they did bring in, we'll just have to see how that works out for them. But definitely we'll see if the Saints are able to. I doubt that they'll be able to win a division again this upcoming season, but we'll see. I mean, all it takes is for Jameis Winston to come in and show that he can still throw the ball like he did in Tampa, but manage the turnovers. If he can do that, then the Saints are right where they were last year in terms of being explosive. And a coach like Sean Payton as well, yeah, that could definitely change something. So it's really going to be dependent upon who's at quarterback and how they go in terms of turning the ball over, especially in Jameis' case. So that'll definitely be a fun one there. And then we have our Monday Night Football game opener, the Ravens going down to the Las Vegas Raiders. So, yeah, we all know, the Raiders, they had a disappointing finish last year. They lost to the Dolphins when Ryan Fitzpatrick threw that Hail Mary that was just a miracle that he threw. And so after that, the Raiders season was pretty much done. They're going to need guys to step up. Obviously, we know that there's been a lot of talk every year about Derek Carr. Is he the guy? Does John Gruden want to move on from him? They have Marcus Mariota still as the backup. It's going to come down to guys like Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs is going to have to really be the guy that they thought he was when they drafted him if this team is going to see success. Obviously, defensively, they brought in Casey Howard, to be that veteran at defensive back. So we'll see, how their defensive back looks. But they're definitely going to want to improve on that side of the ball, especially in comparison to where they were last year, as they were towards the bottom of the league last year defensively. So they're going to want to improve upon that. Offense can only do so much. Obviously, Josh Jacobs, he's a tremendous talent that they have. So we'll see just how this plays out for the Raiders, especially after the draft and the pieces that they added. And as for the Ravens, they brought in some receivers. They finally gave a man some receivers, using a first round pick to draft a receiver, going out there, just making acquisitions, bringing in Sammy Watkins as well. So we'll have to see how that looks. Obviously, they're going to need J.K. Dobbins to be more involved in the ground game consistently, because when Lamar Jackson had his best season, it was when not Brandon, it was when Mark Ingram had his one of his better seasons as a pro, and definitely it helped Lamar Jackson to be able to, either use that quarterback read or be able to throw it deep. So definitely complimenting him with a ground game, and now he has more receivers to work with. So we're going to see how the Ravens offense look. That's for sure. Defensively, that was one of the best units. Defensively, they really relied on that defense last year. So it's going to be up to Lamar Jackson to get that monkey off his back and to show that he's not just there for collecting stats, not just a runner, but that he can be consistently that passer that leads that team extremely deep, because they have the potential. So we'll see how it plays out. Obviously, John Gruden, he's going to want to make the playoffs. I mean, the man signed a 10-year contract, but doesn't have much to show for it. So definitely be a fun one there. And so the only team left would be the Sunday night football game, which apparently would be the Bears and the Rams. Now, we all know about the Matthew Stafford trade that brought him to the Rams. The Rams look very good on paper, so we're going to see. Obviously, they finally got the running game going last year, so with Cam Akers. And so the Rams are expected to be a very good team, but we all saw what Chicago did through the draft. They really made a statement when they went up and got their guy in Justin Fields. Now, I expect for the first game, Matt Nagy strikes me as the type of coach who's going to play a conservative for a while. So he's going to probably start off with Andy Dalton, as they, pretty much told him he was going to be the starter. So I'm expecting for this game, Andy Dalton to come out and be the starter for the Bears. Obviously, they got David Montgomery, the running back. So, they got Allen Robinson and company. So they've got some pieces to work with. And that's going to really bode well for these guys this upcoming season. Now, the Rams, they have one of the best defenses, led by Aaron Donald, the best defensive lineman in the game. And so, obviously, they've got guys like Jalen Ramsey. So, the Rams, they bring it on the defensive side of the ball. And now they're going to have an offense that's able to really take advantage of this great defense. So, they could be one of those teams that also makes a deep run as well. Obviously, they've got teams like the 49ers, Seahawks, Cardinals in their division. So, that's going to be tough. But definitely going to be a fun game to watch here for sure. The Bears last year, they had a pretty good defense as well. One of the top 15 defenses out there. So, yeah, this will be a fun one to watch for sure. It's going to be a matter of just how much of an impact does Matthew Stafford have for this Rams team will determine just how much they improve upon where they were last year. So, yeah, but with that being said, though, that's my analysis for the games that have been revealed for week 1. Hope you enjoyed it. It's definitely been fun being able to talk about next season. Looking forward to a lot of these games. I'm definitely excited about the season opener with the Cowboys and the Buccaneers, but there's just some great games all around. Obviously, seeing Sam Darnold visit the Jets again, there's a lot. So definitely excited about that, seeing guys like Joe Burrow return from his injury, Dak Prescott, the money man. So we'll see how it works out. Ryan Fitzpatrick in his new home. So, yeah. But thank you so much for joining me for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, as more news continues to drop, you can be sure to find it here. So thanks again for watching, and have a great rest of your day.